Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for giving me the floor to present these slides for this conference. Please, you help us as you did a while ago. So, as the President said a while ago, maybe we should have started with this theme, but we think that it is good to end with it, clarify some terms, such that when we start discussing, we will not we don't mix up things. What do we understand by unemployment? Who is a youth? The previous speakers have talked about unemployment. We'll see if there are a few things to add to that. We'll give a few figures at the level of the world and Africa. Then we'll focus on Cameroon, where we have more data than other countries, and we'll present some advantages or some the situation. We'll paint a picture of unemployment in the world. Regarding the context, many have said it already. There are many crises that the world faces, and especially Africa, over the past decade that have made the economic fabric fragile, and some social areas and employment, especially, or the distortions of the labor market, are the consequences. Please go straight to the point. Go straight to the point. Go straight to Cameroon, please. So, if you permit me, Mr. Chair, I'd like us to examine the concept of youth, because we think we should recall the diversity in the definition of those considered as youth in the world, because to talk about this issue, we need to focus on this age group. With your permission, Mr. President, I want to talk about unemployment. Well, we have the African Youth Charter that tells us 35, but in Europe is 24 years maximum. So these data, we know them. So please, we know who is an employed person and who is an unemployed person. That's why I'm inviting you to go straight to Cameroon, so that we discover Cameroon and start discussions. With this slide, we present the youth population in Cameroon. We take the age 15 to 34 years as the Ministry of Youth, the National Youth Policy has adopted. We see that the youth population has been decreasing with time. This is data from 2010 to 2014 and 2016. This is per milieu. So we are 20%. In urban areas, the population is higher, and we see that unemployment, according to the ILO, which it is worth reminding, according to the ILO, anyone who is unemployed is someone who is actively seeking for a job, who is available to work and has not worked even for 1 hour over the previous 7 days during the investigation or the survey, who is ready to work immediately. Immediately for us is within 15 days. That is what the ILO says. In Cameroon, we see that unemployment rates, we have increased them because, strictly as agreed by the statisticians of work, this unemployment rate is very low. It has been said severally in many of our countries. In Cameroon, it is 5%. So we are not far from natural unemployment, that's full employment. But when we add discouraged job seekers, that is people who go job hunting, and people who don't look for jobs but who are available to work. We call them discouraged workers. We have extended unemployment, and there we realize that contrary to the tendency we see, the trend is the same. Meaning in Cameroon, there is a huge proportion of the population that has stopped looking for jobs because they no longer believe they could find jobs. Because they know that they cannot, it's difficult to find a job in this country, and for other reasons. So when we include these aspects of unemployment, we see that the rate increases as time goes on.
Je peux m'approcher pour vous donner les chiffres.
Let me go close to give you the figures. We have 10%. It goes from 8.9%, close to 9%, to 11% in 2014, 9% in 2010, to 11% in 2014. If you come back a few slides behind, according to ILO, it was 6.4 to 4.6 in 2016. So, whether they are the extended level or according to the ILO, the urban area and women are the most hit by unemployment rates. So this we're discussing youth in the context of globalization, where we see that my predecessors talked about this for so long, where the world having become a global village, today the training we provide to the youth today should meet a need expressed on the labor market. That is why I think we're thinking that structures like WAPES, or public structures, international structures like ACEP and WAPES, should work in coordination with national structures, so that training should be harmonized and meet either national or international needs. We should no longer have trainings just for the sake of having them. We could give training not only for national but for sub-regional needs. So we can benefit from importing technologies like Japan, South Korea. We can use their technologies in Africa to boost our economies. Importation of technology today, we have spent time consuming than trying to understand these technologies. Some limits: in the face of unemployment, there is an increasing number of unemployed youth in our countries. If nothing is done, there will be brain drain that we all know. Many of our heads of states are carrying out measures for the return of Africans in the diaspora to come and invest in their respective countries. But we acknowledge that if nothing is done at the institutional level to receive them, as our colleague from ILO was saying, if there are no favorable frameworks, then we will not have any results despite all these efforts. Today, we have migration, the phenomenon of clandestine migration. It is because of unemployment and other indicators by which we earn that pushes these youth to migrate clandestinely. So we were saying, maybe to round off, that unemployment today is a theme that is very topical, but in the African framework, given the figures, even extended unemployment doesn't cross 12%. That's the case of Cameroon, but that's also the case in many African countries. South Africa is a country where unemployment rate is very high. globally, the level is very low in Africa. So the problem is not in unemployment, the problem of our youth. Beyond the fact that we can focus on this unemployment is on other indicators such as underemployment. And it is worth reminding that since the 19th conference of labor statisticians, but we will not come back to some of the things we had to talk on. The conceptual framework has changed. The underuse of labor. These are some of the indicators that should help us to better characterize the employment situation of our youth. Because for the case of Cameroon, youth work. If you ask them, are you unemployed? 70-80% will tell you they are not. So that's why the National Institute of Statistics had it difficult to communicate the first result on unemployment because no one accepted this figure. But that is the definition. It is not the information that is probably that should be questioned, but the forms of distortion in the labor market we have in our market is the underuse of labor. There you have graduates who don't have anything to eat, who become bike riders. By law. So we have many of these indicators we can use in Africa if we want to better understand the labor market, especially of the youth, and come out from this. The measures must be geared towards these policies because if we want during our investigation, we asked some youth in the informal sector, we asked them, do you want any of your offspring or your parents to continue what you're doing? They tell you yes. Meanwhile, you consider him vulnerable. So for this youth, what should be done is not to bring him out of this activity, but to be able to guide him, to help him promote and develop this activity. So there are many of such aspects we can note. Unfortunately, we don't have much time. Maybe in our discussions we'll come back to some of the aspects we couldn't discuss. Thank you.